Hello everyone, and welcome to this board game overview for Kingdom Death Monsters Survivor Milestones. So, I have the character sheet here because, well, honestly, that's the best thing I can hold up. Specifically, what I will be going over is age, courage, and understanding. I will end up timestamping those because they are separate enough things. I will be going over both the 3-point and the 9-point for courage and understanding. So, spoilers abound here, especially with those 9-pointers. Those are some pretty big endgame things, but it's best to just cram these in here. Regardless, with that said, let's get to the details.
Alright, to begin with, we're going to go with age, as this is the most commonly gained one out of the sets of milestones. Age. Your time in the darkness changes you. Level 1 is the weapon proficiency itself. This is the unique one, as, unlike the others, you gain something beyond rolling the 2d10, getting a result based on that. And as you can see, it's weapon proficiency. And the available types from the core game are axe, bow, club, dagger, fist and tooth, grand weapon, guitar, shield, spear, sword, and whip. I went over these in a previous video. The expansions also add scythe, and while there is a katana one, just like the Twilight Sword, it cannot be inherently selected. As for the potential rolls themselves, we have roll 2d10, which you do on all 4 of these tables, and this is one of the few sets of tables you roll something other than a d10. On a 2, gain a permanent evasion. On a 3 through 6, gain +1 strength. A 1 through 15, gain a random fighting art. A 16 through 19, gain 1 permanent accuracy. And on a 20, gain 1 permanent luck. I'm not going to read off the roll numbers for the other 3 tables, as they're all exactly the same across the 5 possibilities. So, for the most part, a lot of these have either permanent stats or fighting arts. Commonly, this is where a survivor will get its first fighting art, but not always. And remember, that does not include secret fighting arts. Now, on to the second table, improved reflexes. Your year, sharpen your reflexes. We have +1 movement, one of the few places where you can actually gain movement, a random fighting art, a permanent strength, another random fighting art, and a permanent speed. So, at milestone 2, you commonly gain a strength. Now, on to milestone 3, enhance senses. Experience sharpens your instincts. Roll on the table below, as per usual. +1 speed for the first one. +1 movement for the second one, making it more likely. A random fighting art in the middle, just like the first table. 2 random fighting arts and gain 1 as your fourth, and +3 strength for the fifth. So this means you'll likely gain a fighting art, and there's a good chance by this point in time you'll be replacing one. But that +3 strength is a nice possibility. And finally, we have Lucky Elder. Age is the rarest resource of all. Roll on the table below as per usual. 2 is probably the worst result on here. Draw 5 random fighting arts and gain 1. Whoop-de-doo. By this point in time, which is very close to retirement, yeah, that's kind of useless. But the next 4 are +1 evasion, or +1 luck, or +1 speed, or a +1 attribute of your choice. So you're likely to gain luck here, but I wouldn't really complain on any of these. I'm not somebody who thinks speed is the evil stat. I just think you have to prepare for it better. Next up, we have Bold, which is what happens when you gain 3 courage. In a single moment, your perspective changes profoundly. Select triumph corresponding to the current game phase. A survivor may only gain this benefit once per lifetime. So, pretty much, you gain this based on whether you're in the Showdown, the Hunt, or the Settlement phase. Starting with the Showdown, we have the essential difference between man and monster is a gap no human can overcome. You accept this and tap into a deep well of deranged fortitude. Gain the following ability and roll on the table. I'm not going to read that last sentence for each of them because that's on all of them. Stalwart. Ignore being knocked down by brain trauma and intimidate actions, which is really useful. And the table is gain +1 strength token for 1 through 3. On a 4 through 7, gain 3 survival and 3 insanity. On an 8 through 9, gain a permanent strength, and on a 10, gain a permanent speed. These tables, all 6 of them, be it the 3 from here and the 3 from Insight, the understanding version of this, are basically the same. You get different things, but the first half of the table, so 1 through 7, are all temporary things, while the latter half, 8 through 10, are generally permanent stats. But moving on. So for the hunt phase, you get expect the unexpected. You are prepared to face any mind-bending trials at a moment's notice. When others may falter, you forge ahead, meeting the journey head-on. Prepared. When you roll to determine a straggler, add your hunt XP to your roll. Not a roll, just your roll. This can be really nice for keeping older characters alive longer, but if everybody has this at the same hunt XP, and I've seen this happen a couple times, it's useless. It is just absolutely useless. So, again, 1 through 3, gain a speed token for the next Showdown. 4 through 7, one of the few lesser half permanents, gain +1 understanding. 8 and 9, gain a permanent strength, and a 10 plus, a permanent movement. Then finally, we have for the settlement phase. In this fleeting existence, every moment shared creates meaning. The bond forged between survivors gives you hope. Matchmaker. When you are a returning survivor, once per year, you may spend an endeavor to have the intimacy story event. This does not mean you are involved. As the picture kind of implies, you're getting people involved. Just like with augury, you don't need to be the person involved just because you rolled. So this is like doing augury and automatically getting an 8+, or for an endeavor, get a love juice that you use. 1 through 3, you may reroll one endeavor result this settlement phase. 4 through 7, gain an endeavor this settlement phase. I end up with one of these two a lot when Matchmaker's gained, and it's kind of annoying. More so the first one than the latter one, because how many times it's happened on my last endeavor sucks, but whatever. 8 through 9, gain a permanent strength, and 10, gain a permanent accuracy. Next up, we have the See the Truth event, which is what happens when you get max courage. The greatest courage is achieved when the past and the future are abandoned. The void that remains is a dark, endless well of strength. Fear and pain are for your nourishment, and you will feast. You suddenly recall meeting a strange masked man who, for a moment, opened your second eyelids, whatever that's supposed to mean. What you saw filled your mouth with the taste of your own death. Suffer the blind severe injury, and taste death. If you are already blind, do not suffer it again, which is a good clarification, because otherwise your character just gets retired if they're already blind once. That's a nice little bit of benefit if you're playing a character who's already blind and once you reach that, or if you are doing the katana specialization from People of the Sun. Taste of Death, like most things, is roll a d10. Now, this is modified by your principal death, as will be stated under these, but that's what the blue and pink boxes are for here. Sweet. When your second eyelid opens, the veil of darkness was lifted. You recall looking to the sky and viewing a horizon of titanic faces. Each face is different and peers at different parts of your body. Death was upon you, and strangely sweet flavor swirling around your mouth. Gain weak spot disorder. Sweet battle. Once per round, you may surge without spending survival. If you do, the extra action must be used to activate a weapon. I don't know if this is on top of surge itself, or if it is use surge normally, which would also mean you need Inner Lantern. As a note, if the settlement has the greatest principal death, you get this on a 1 through 4 instead of a 1 or 2. Now, I'm going to do Sour next, which is normally a 9 and 10. When your second eyelid opened, you saw thousands of small life forms swimming through the air. They crawled over you, stealing tastes of your sweet blood. Death was near. You wondered how your fear tasted. A plucking, sour flavor filled your mouth and decided that you must never die. Gain the following ability. Sour Death. When you are knocked down, you may encourage yourself, even if you are deaf. If you do, gain +1 strength token. So that can be great with anything that, you're going to be knocked down often, or can take advantage of strength tokens, or can purposely knock yourself down regularly. Just like with Sweet, if you have Cannibalized, increase the range to 7 to 10 for this. Lastly, we have Bitter Death. When your second eyelid opened, everything looked the same. There was no wonder, no mystery. Death was simply everywhere. A bitter flavor filled your mouth as you accepted your harsh reality. Gain the Berserker fighting art and the following ability. Bitter Frenzy. Each showdown, the first time you suffer the frenzy brain trauma, gain D10 survival. You may spend survival while frenzied. This can make for some very amazing builds, honestly. This is the keystone to almost every frenzy build in the game. Next up, we move on to the Understanding story events. With first, Insight, which you get at Understanding 3. In a single moment, the curtain of the world pulls back. Now, just like with Bold, you get an ability based on when it happened, be it the Showdown, Hunt, or Settlement. First off, when it happens during the Showdown, watching the chaotic movements of monsters, you perceive a pattern. Perhaps its motives are not so different from your own. You can imagine yourself in the monster's place. Gain the following ability and roll on the table below, just like with Bold. The ability is Analyze. At the start of the survivor's turn, if you are adjacent to the monster, reveal the top AI card, then place it back on the deck. So it's like a rawhide headband, except you only pull one card. So you know what's coming next. Also, this doesn't take an action, so this is generally pretty nice. Now, onto the table results from the die, which is, as usual, over 1d10. 1 through 3, ignore the next severe injury this showdown, so pretty much a free dried Arcanthus. 4 through 7, gain 3 survival and 3 insanity. Whoop-de-doo. I'd rather get the 1 through 3. And then, just like with the others, 8 through 10 are permanent stats. In the case of 8 through 9, it's a permanent accuracy, and on a 10, it's a movement, which, again, is very rare. Then, on to the Hunt ability. You dream, before you, toiling silently. A strange creature with the imprint of a human face sculpts stone faces into the ground. You meet its concave gaze and wake. Now, first off, before I move on, I want to state, I believe this is the creature that is on the very first page of the book, before you actually get to any real intros or anything, the opening image. The ability you get is Explore. When you roll on an Investigate table, add 2 to your result. Really nice, especially because most of these have really bad effects at 1, and that negates almost all of them. But it's if that survivor rolls, not if any survivor rolls. So, otherwise that would be really broken anyway. Now, as for the table, we have, on a 1 through 3, reroll 1 event result this hunt phase. So, pretty much the survival of the fittest bonus, but only on hunt events. Again, on a 4 through 7, gain 3 survival and 3 insanity. Whoop-de-doo. On a 8 through 9, gain permanent accuracy, and on a 10, gain impermanent evasion, which is wonderful. Then lastly, we move on to the Settlement phase ability. The Hunt, which once filled you with inexorable dread, takes on a new dimension. Your expeditions outside the settlement inspire you with curiosity and wonder. So this is the Tinker ability, which is significantly better if you have things to do with endeavors, because it's an extra endeavor for that character. And they still have to be a returning survivor, so yeah, if they die, they die. But you get that many then if you have graves, and you don't get any if you have cannibalism. But in general, it can be very nice. I still think Matchmaker's better, but you can get both. Now on to the roll results. On a 1 through 3, if you innovate this phase, draw a +1 card. That's not too bad. I think this entire table is actually the best one out of all of them, or at least has all good results, I should say. On a 4 through 7, gain Endeavor this settlement phase. That's great if you haven't run out of uses. Also, as a note on the 1 through 3, it sucks if you get that after you've endeavored for the year. I've had that happen twice. 8 through 9, +1 permanent accuracy, which has been all 3 of these on 8 through 9, and on a 10 plus, gain permanent strength. Now we move on to White Secret, which is the story event when you fill up Understanding. A dream buried deep in a memory suddenly surfaces. You feel her hot breath bathing your ear, hissing whispers. She had come to you bearing a secret of the world, and you had merely forgotten until now. Your brain swells, and you scream out in pain. Suffer the lunacy brain trauma, and remember the story, which is roll a d10. Now, before I get on to what the specific things do, I just want to point out that just like with See the Truth, White Secret is affected by a different principle. In this case, it is affected by your principal conviction, be it you have romance or barbaric. First off, the basic 1 and 2 result. We have Story of the Ageless Man. You remember the story of a young man in his prime. The man was grateful for his body's ability to protect his loved ones. He decided to honor it by punching the dark sky above 1,000,000 times. As long as he never finished his vow, he never aged a single day. Your body transforms to its physical peak. Permanently gain +1 accuracy and +1 strength. Gain the following ability. Ageless. You may hunt if you are retired. When you gain XP, you may decide not to gain it. Survivors age unnaturally and cannot use Ageless, so it sucks if you get this. Also, if you have romantic conviction, you end up getting this on a 1 through 4. Next up, we have Story of the Invisible Hair. You remember the story of a woman with long hair, so fine it couldn't even be seen. She claimed she could feel anything her hair touched. On her deathbed, she cut it all off and gifted a single strand to any who visited her. What was left over was scattered, floating in the wind, waiting to be grasped by those who learned this story. You gain the extra sense fighting art, which is always a nice one, and the following ability. Lane Line Walker. While there is no armor or accessory gear in your gear grid, gain +3 evasion. This does stack with Crystalline Body, which I will be going over soon. Not this video, though. If you are barbaric, this is a 7 through 10 instead of a 9 through 10. Leyline Walker allows for some really interesting evasion builds, but remember, monsters still hit you on a 10 and they can gain plus accuracy. Lastly, a normal 3 through 8 result, but modified by your principal conviction as already stated, the story of the survivor. You remember the story of a smart young girl that, despite all odds, constantly outwitted the superior beings she encountered. You also recall that her own vanity led to her death. Gain the quixotic disorder and the following ability. Peerless. When you gain insanity, you may gain an equal amount of survival. This can be very interesting for forced insanity gaining builds, but otherwise it's kind of just like, eh. So it results in pretty much you need survival burning builds as well as insanity gaining builds. But you can skip the survival gaining part with this, is the point.
Alright everyone, I hope this was helpful. If it was, feel free to press the like button. If you think it will help somebody else, feel free to share this video. If this video wasn't helpful, go ahead and press the dislike button, but please leave a constructive comment as to why. Also, if you want to comment in general, feel free to. Go ahead and ask any questions about this stuff or upcoming things. Also, if you want to see more like this, be it more board game overview videos, my unboxing videos, my painting videos, or anything else that I do on this channel, feel free to subscribe. Regardless, have a wonderful day and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.